Let's start this party.
Absolutely.
Get the party started. How was your weekend, man? Good.
Oh, it was great. So far, it's great. And even the week itself is moving along great. Welcome, everybody. Again, thank you for gathering with us today, this time, 12 p.m. Eastern Time, Tuesday, as we do for the how-to sessions. For those who are new, welcome as well. It's an open space where we gather on a regular basis to touch up on any uh, type of conversation that could help us, that should help us become more successful in what we do online. If you have a question pertaining to NowSite in particular, the use of the software, you can raise your hand. We'll bring you in, have a conversation around that. We also have Robert. My name is actually, for those who are new to the platform, my name is Virgile Obeo. I'll be your marketing consultant and brand success manager. And I have my co-host with me, and that's your cue, Robert.
Oh, you want me to speak? My name is Robert Blakely.
Absolutely.
Better known as the Blakester. Pleasure to see y'all.
Perfect. So everything that we do, we record, try to make it available on platforms. I will share a few links during this conversation in the chat. Robert will be in the chat with us as well, assisting us for those who don't necessarily want to ask questions live. You can ask it in the chat and we will bring it forward if required. So as usual, in tradition to where we came from as now site users, I'll open the floor for any conversation questions around the use of now site to begin with, and then we'll go into other conversations since everything we do usually refers to now site as a platform to begin with to create. Good for everybody? Questions for anybody? Okay. If none, I'll just continue on what we have been sharing together as an experience. Go ahead, Lisa.
Oh, anyway. I do have a question.
Go ahead, shoot.
Um, you know, it's related to the digital business card, but I was
Good.
wondering, is there a way, or maybe I'm just not thinking of it right, to create something like a link tree in NowSite?
Well, absolutely, because in essence, the link tree is a series of button or links that you're aligning one after the other. And that can be easily created in NowSite. The idea is that, well, if you're going to do that, you might want to add more content to that, right? Because NowSite allows you to do so much more with just one link, right? Do you have a link tree as an example that you wanted to share with us to put as in perspective? Or what I can do is just demonstrate what I just discussed in NowSite in real
Well,
time.
I have a link tree. I have one. I used to like the Bitly one, but now Bitly, it's on the free account, and so Bitly puts all this stuff in front of it. I made one in Groove last week, um, which I like the Bitly better because you can put an image for each link. But again,
Mhm.
and so I like the Groove one, but I was just wondering if I could do it in NowSite.
Absolutely. Coming back to what you just said, in the preference, I like the Bitly because I can add an image, right?
Yeah.
I think you would like it even more if you could add more to that image, right? And that's the idea here that I was trying to position. I will explain. And this is also a good segue into what I was trying to come back to in our conversation about branding, about context, about also getting more out of this digital card with these basic exercises that we're going through. Here, for example, I'm just going to add an about page. I'll be coming back to that conversation, but it's going to be a great template to demonstrate what you ask as a question. Just going to go to it. It's a blank page. The idea of having a link tree in its raw form would be something of the sort, right? So I'll say click. Or here, for example, I'm just going to anchor it with an affiliate link. And then if I was supposed to create a link tree, then I would be looking at something like that, most likely with titles in betweens, trying to get a point across, right? And this is what you get. Now, what I was putting forward is here with this tool and with the ease that you have to bring in content and purpose, especially coming back to the conversation that we're trying to have, because these are call to actions. You're trying to get me to do something specific, right? Here, just to come back, for those who are beginning with NowSite or discovering NowSite, the interface is very easy to use. I just added a page to call it an About section. Actually, well, I'll stay in this About section here. And to navigate to it and edit, I just click on my digital pencil. It gives me all the construction tools that we have. It's a click, drag, and drop environment. So for what I'm trying to illustrate as a point, giving more cool to these call to action, which is essentially the link tree. And we'll come back to that also in a bit. So here, I'm grabbing the future blocks for this conversation. Why? The feature block allows me to do a lot, right? So I have a title. So here I can create interest, right? Here I have a sub, so intention. And now I can add an image to whatever it is I want the emotion or conversation to go towards. So this is basically some work that I'm doing for a campaign. So we'll pass that. I'm just going to use ours, right? And then we have what we want here, the call to action, right? So click to see. At that point, I'm just going to anchor it again. So now you see you have, coming back to your preference, you have an interest, the link, you have a picture to support that, right? And you have conversation around that. So, and this is especially important, coming back to this. When you're doing a link tree, you're working against a few values that we have tried to anchor. 1, offer. 2, choices. 3, a lot of choices. 4, 5, oh my God, we're going off the deep end in choices, right? So I have link trees are things, this is also one of the things in the idea of being online entrepreneurs. We have to be very agile with the tools that we use. Linktree was a big thing. How many cycles ago, right? Very important. Link trees were a thing at a certain momentum of our marketing ecosystem. Now, there's so much more out there that just a link is not enough. We need a link and a conversation. So if you're going to give me a series of links, then definitely make each one of these offer powerful, right? I don't say, it's not to say that you will not end up with something like this. If you noticed in the how to latest sessions on the newsletter, the How To newsletter, this is how I present every one of our videos, right? The idea is always the same. At one point, it's too much. I have to upload some and keep just a basic. And this is just because it's a series of courses. I can give you a few courses since what we do is sequential. You might want to go forward or backward. And it's also the idea of building this learning resource a hub, right? So this is where I'm, okay, comfortable with giving a lot of links. But if you're doing something, if you're creating an asset, because this is what a link tree is, if it's an asset, then be careful about its conversion point, right? Because again, many call to action, many conversion points. It means that I have a strategy for all these different segments of my conversation. Go ahead, Robert.
Anyone, let's see, extra credit points. Anybody know how Linktree came about or why? I can tell you. In 2016, there were some Australians that put it together because you know how in social media they have that link in bio. We can only put one link. So hence Linktree was created. But like we always talk about, what we're teaching here is we want you guys to have your own branding. So therefore you want to create your own link tree because then you're promoting yourself instead of link tree with the promotion. So I trust that
Exactly.
makes sense. And on that, I yield.
And that was so, wow, so much in that small share. Because again, the idea is that they did, that was a system, this was an answer to a problem. But they did the branding so well that we associate the brand to everything around it. Because we say Linktree, and all the while we're leveraging that brand, or it's either we're trying to leverage that brand or benefit from the offer. But in this case, at the level that we are, meaning the tools that we're tapping in, let's go higher, right? And that's important. And also, what you said allow me to go into the next part of what I wanted to touch base, because I didn't want us to just jump into a new round of conversation without coming back to what we just went over in our masterclass, because this idea of branding will follow us constantly, right? And Robert gave us a great idea using this approach at having our brand as we see it, as we understand it, being rated by the AI and pulling out a card that we can use as a reference. Great. That was genius, right? Because we're going to be coming back to that, right? Because again, if you notice, when you were in this conversation with us, I asked us to do that first exercise with a brand name. Then we had to discuss and leverage that with the context of using us as the products, right? And then we leverage also the idea of giving it more detail when it's evaluating it. So there were 3 tiers of actions that we took there, right? And I want us to be able to go constantly through that exercise, because this is also what is part of being agile, right? At any point in time, we might need to revamp our brand conversation, right? If what we put forward is not allowing us to go into other new spheres of conversation, then we need to come back to the storyboard. If the product that we are being offered is brand new to us, then we have to come back to our storyboard here and understand the element of this product with the makeup of its brand. So we're constantly coming back to this structure, this framing of thinking, right? There was a little bit here an opening on an exercise that I wanted us to take part in, right? And this is important in the sense that it allows us to make sure that we have all the 5, at least the most fundamental values in place, and also the meaning to them, right? Because we all understand when we go to the AI, I'll come back, I'll go to what we had done here. When we go to the AI and it gives us this rating, we understand what clarity means. We understand what creativity, relevance, memorability, scalability in the grand context of it. But what does it mean to us and then to our brand? And this is the important part here, right? I added an exercise to it. It's part of the just publish and exit. I'm actually going to keep this because we're going to come back on the digital card. We're going to stay in the digital card because as a marketing asset, what we talk about or around the digital card will follow through any website or any other marketing asset that we create. I want to do a brand, a listing of product offers. Contact me. That's a digital card, right? You want to book a meeting with me? Digital card. I'm offering services. You want to talk? Digital card. The contact us section of every and each one of our marketing assets will become that go-to unless we decide on another strategy. But essentially, even if we decide on another makeup for it, it will follow through the fundamentals that we have set in place, right? So in the team content, if you guys are not in the team content, it's part of the links. I'll drop them right now so that I don't forget. So once again, in the conversation, I'm dropping all the links. The one to the newsletter where these case study goes, the course library where the Mastercard goes, the Masterclass, sorry, goes, and the Facebook group event for steady conversations and such. I'll drop it in the chat now. So in the team section, which is part of those links, in the Mastercard recap, everything about the Mastercard, the latest one is here. So the video, just in case you haven't had a chance to watch it, is here on YouTube also, on the marketing asset as well. There was a practical exercise that I'd offered to the elite, right, which is a grid that you would want to have, right? Because here we're building, and I hope that everybody is creating that as we go, their brand booklet, brand DNA booklet, right? Everything that you will need. If anything, you will have to copy it and paste it somewhere else at one point, right? And if you do this properly, you will see why it would convey all the essential answers or things that make or points that make your brand special, right? So I did this second exercise here, and this is what I wanted to go over or put forward as being something that we would want to look at, right? So it's a simple one. It's also a good preparation exercise for the next part of our masterclass, the logo, right? Because we're going to discuss the logo. I saw a lot of logos. I would call them all perfect. Go ahead, Robert.
I don't know if maybe I'm asking this too soon, but what are you using to create said PDF? Or you called it something else, though. There was a terminology you used. What did you say it was again?
Presentations or these?
No, something card or no?
The
I don't
digital,
know.
you lost me.
Okay, well, first off, let's go back to
Oh,
what are you using to create the
the brand DNA booklet, you mean, or the
booklet?
brand
There you
DNA
go.
kit?
Yeah,
Okay, yeah. Well, look, this is a document, right? I called it a booklet because essentially, right, everything that we used to do was held in a book,
sure.
right, in that space. But
What are you
essentially,
using
you
to
can
create it? Was my question, if you could.
yeah, you can use anything with it, anything, because it's a series of text, conversation points, anything pertaining to your brand. You can use Microsoft Word, you can use Canva, whatever
Gotcha.
document, because
Gotcha.
we're talking about documents, right? About writing everything down point per point, right? Even us, for example, that consider ourselves already well branded or sort of branded, established. Well, when we go through this exercise, we do usually these revelation points, right? Because we might have started with one perception of our product or of our service or of our brand. And then going through the market, we start evolving, understanding more where the niche for us is. I can tell you right now, my revamp is major between where I came from, where I'm going, what is happening here, major rebrand, right? So constantly coming back to these foundational principle. And it's not just something for us to know. We have to practice. And the way we practice is we write these things down, right? Go ahead, Rita.
Hi, I had the same question, and I'm not sure if Blakester and I are on the same page, but when I create a PDF, it's it there's a border around it. There's a bleed. So yours goes right out to the edges, and I love it. But I didn't know did you use Canva to create it or?
Yes. Well, here it comes back to that idea of creating our system of work, right? I use a series of platforms, right? Because I like writing my trains of thoughts on a raw blank page. came from my artist background or my fondness of drawing. I don't draw on lines and blank page. So I go to Word and I start typing, basically outlining everything. Of course, there's cycles of correction with AI and such spelling. When it's ready from Word, I will save it as a PDF and then I will upload it in Canva, right? But keeping in mind with everything that we discuss, I'm just doing this way because I like the hands-on approach of controlling my content. But we discuss gamma in this space. To get to gamma, for example, that conversation, you would need it somewhere. Word, PDF, right? When we're using our My AI and getting strong data from it, because we're going to keep working. So more data will appear, but we love that one. What do? Copy, save it, Word document it, right? It equates to the administrative part of a business. We draw, or at least I draw a lot from physical business approach, administration in what we are doing because it's the same thing, right? Let's put it this way. 10 years ago, 20 years ago, before you started a business, you needed to have a business plan, business strategy, all that jazz put into play. And for that, you had layers of people you had to talk to actually get that document together. And when you got it together, it had financial value because you had to pay for it. Right now, you can create these documents. You can put together all these concepts together. All you have to create, the one thing that you can't escape is having that data, right? Hence, we are going to be creating data. Oh man, I'm going to need some backup. Oh, I wonder if there's a solution in the room for people that create a lot of data. And this is one thing that we will be facing, creating a lot of data as network marketer, especially in this digital age, video content and whatnot. But what we're discussing here is the basic administrative structure of what we are going to put forward online and documents, right? I have massive intake of documents. Sometimes I'll wake up in the night and, oh, idea. I need to write it down. Just the first few lines at least, because that's in the age of AI, that's all you need. Just the first few lines, the power moment of that inspiration, that vision, right? And you're gonna expand on it. But when you expand on it, you can't just leave it in the ether, right? You can't just leave it on AI, thinking that I'm gonna come back to it. You're gonna have to have that habit, right? Create that process. And since I tend to start there and come back cycle, I have my structure, right?
Yeah.
Because sometimes, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes I'll rush into things as well. Yeah. So
No,
it's really that. Sorry.
I totally get the structure and the wording that you laid out. I just wasn't clear on the way that it
The
looks.
aesthetic?
It's just, yeah, the aesthetics. And so you created the Word document and turned it into a PDF, and then you put that right in there and you created the artwork around it. So I got it.
Yeah.
I really like the look. So anyway,
Oh, thank you.
thank
I
you.
think, when I do this, to be honest, I try to keep it as really as basic as I want to. But I think what you're receiving is the energy, the fact that I really like what I'm doing. And this is one of the things I think that I tend to take from my art thing is whenever you do something with a certain emotion, well, the idea is that people will receive it. So when you give testimony like that, I love it, but there's no science to it. I'm really doing things that I like, and I'm like, okay, it has to be clear, it has to be simple, it has to make, and that's the depth of the creativity that I bring into this. So
Well,
thank you for that. But yeah,
that's why I was asking as well, because if I go into a different program, I may not see any of that stuff. It won't look the same. It won't look as cool
mm.
as yours does.
Oh, guys, you guys are killing me here.
It looks
For
nice,
for you
brother.
guys who are using all these, because I seen the work with all these other platforms myself. I'm like, okay, wow, I feel stubborn when I'm doing this because again like that creative control. So for you guys to tell me that, wow, thank you, thank you, thank you,
Well, the
thank you.
last
But
one that I made
mhm.
virtual, I used ChatGPT and it did a pretty good job, but it could always be better, right?
Yeah. Well, that's the motto. It could always
Looks
be
good.
better.
Looks good, brother.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
And it also
Uh,
gives us another way that to do something, like I
mm,
may not do it that I'll create the text box and type in it, but you know what? I kind of like this because it's easier to update it, take it out, put it back in, and you're good to go. So,
mm.
it is a work of art. It is beautiful. And I say
Oh,
that sincerely.
If I can
thank
add
you.
to that, if everybody's paying attention, what I really love about this thing that we're going over is literally it gives you a part of your portfolio, if you will, right?
Mm,
And if you have all of your stuff nailed down, one of the things that we talk about in day one is there's only three ways for us to get the stuff done, right? Is one, you have to learn how to do it, two, you have to outsource it, or three, a combination of two. So if you had your little booklet, I think that's what you called it, booklet, pamphlet,
yeah.
whatever it is, and you have all of your branding stuff in there, your logo, you've got your color, your hex codes, right, Rita? All the stuff that we talk about. Then it's easy for you to say, hey, I need some outsourcer or freelancer or whatever to do something. There's your directions, your booklet, right? That thing that most men don't like reading, but there's the booklet for us. So I love it.
100%. 100%.
I'm
It
going
make
to make it my mission to work on my booklet. I like the idea. I like the thought of this.
it
Even
actually,
the
sorry?
asset, even the asset checklist. Um,
Mm,
that is something that's really powerful for anyone just starting to use because those are the things like Blakester was saying that you're going to use over and over and over again.
mm,
And to have it there, and by the time you start using it, you're like, hey, I already got my stuff. So it's cool.
mm.
And I'll be quiet now.
No, please dive in. It's so important. We're a community. And that is truth in everything. The way we resonate with each other's ideas and application of them is clear to one thing. Foundations is the key. If you understand the foundation, then you can improve indefinitely because you're always at one point coming back to that point in the circle, the beginning of that cycle, right? Every quarter or every trimester or every end of the year, you have to go through your brand audit, your business audit, right? And all that will come back on the table, right? So this exercise, very important as well. It's a simple set of steps, right? Do it in point form, do it in paragraphs, but give answers to these questions, right? If you're starting something new, identify your product, identify your name, identify yourself, right? But then you see, define its purpose. And that is often somewhere where we start losing what we're doing. What is the true purpose, right? Like the conversation, one of those beautiful shares that we had, the 7 layers of the why or the who I am, these layers that we need to peel, right? Coming here and thinking about them, right? Defining the purpose, the target audience, brand profile, anybody, right? Tone of your website conversation, right? So these small points are anchors for everything that you're doing, right? The potential names, if you had to shift, right? Because again, we can always improve, right? Of course, if you are presenting yourself, you can't really go into that. Or even though that could be the fact, we discussed the history around or the basic nature of branding, which was your name and your trade, right? So even if you're doing this with your first and last name, right? Well, we can try variants to see if your first name with a trade or a mission could work even stronger in defining your audience, right? Because we have our scale now. Once I do this, I can come back and say, well, okay, let me tweak this scale prompt with this factor now added, right? Very important. The other one, you want to evaluate all these attributes, right? And then you want to write basically checklists. Because once you have your checklist, again, it's something that you're always going to come back. Why? It's your roadmap. If you are offered something that goes against your checklist, right, of values or of attributes, then there's going to be something there to discuss. Do I need to revamp, rechange, adapt, or whatnot? The most important part of this exercise is the last step, writing the rationale, right? And that's just to ask you again, well, based on that brand DNA conversation, give me a business profile in a few lines, right? If you had to sum it up, because this is also important for us in the age of AI. Whenever we're going to be prompting the AI going forward to evaluate our brand or to give us an option in service. And we came about the importance of that, paying attention to what the AI will suggest at the end of every prompt. Because sometimes it can be the next step in the motion that we're looking for, that we are actually created domino effect wise, but we didn't see ourselves in the fog what we were creating. Often enough, this is what is happening as well. We create domino effect because we're not clear of where it's going out. When it reaches the last domino that we thought about, well, the rest falls out of focus. But the chain reaction is still happening, whether we control it or not. Right? So having all that in perspective is important, especially at the end, that two-line rationale. Because two-line, I could have said more than one or a whole paragraph or a whole story, but then we're going to go into the confusion and start trying to expand too much, right? Because often enough, for example, in a business pitch, you only have maybe 2, 3 lines to score that. They'll tell you, no, 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 that's too much. Even the time of during certain interviews, they will ask you questions. And sometimes what they're doing is rating your response versus your reaction time. Right? Because if you give me 30 minutes around every question, I'm going to be masterful at every answer because I got 15 minutes to think about, right? Maybe even take five minutes to take notes and then come back and draft my first answer and then deliver it, right? But the idea when you're at an interview or when you're at a business pitch, right, is that we're weighing these conversations. And this applies, for example, when you're having this rapid fire exchange on a chat, right? If the client starts reacting to your conversation, and that also happens, by the way, a lot at the time of the objection, right? Rapid fire, rapid exchange. The client is trying to shake it off or sign up really, right? So rapid fire, right? And when that is happening, you want to keep that momentum. So the way you answer, the time you answer will apply, right? Remember also the scales that we talked about in objection handling, the timing, the nature, the strength. Well, that applies also as a double-edged sword to us. When we're answering, there's a timing and a rhythm that we have to keep. A complex client might like that interaction. Pop, 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 pop. Okay, you know your stuff. I'm aboard, right? A simple client will appreciate that time. But what about this? Okay, I'm happy you brought it up. It's a very low emotion, low strength type objection. I can take the time that I want to elaborate, but not too much. Simple but connection, right? So these even apply. Keep it in a very short format, but powerful format. Because again, when you're going to do that, coming back to that exercise of having the AI rate your brand conversation with this two-line rationale around it, you will see the scale start tipping, right? Remember what AI is doing for us at all time. It's a good pilot, co-pilot, but it takes us where we want to go, right? So we always have to look at that destination and say, okay, this is where I wanted to go, or is there higher? right? How did I ask you to come here? How did you get us here? Because in fact, it's part of that deeper reasoning that I'm trying to achieve each time I start prompting AI for something. I understand it this way. How do you see it with all the knowledge in the world that you have? Give it back to them. Now, how do I have to present it? Right. And this is why I love that my approach at creating these, because I'm forced to come back to that whiteboard and reshape my ideas, my perspective. Okay. By the way, all this also will allow you, for example, in the case of it, and your Robert, your digital card is the perfect example for that because mine doesn't have. If you have your digital card link, can you drop it for me? Because you already had that about section, right? When you go into an about section, what are we asking you? Mission, talk to your audience, what exactly defines you. So your coloring comes into the titles, right? And everything you do will be based around that rationale,
Mine,
right? So that brand.
if you want to pull it up,
Mhm.
just go to robertblakely.now.site and then click on the contact us.
Yeah, so that's basically, maybe it's going to appear actually. Oh, sorry, when I'm typing and talking at the
It,
same time, everything goes away.
it did
Uh,
show up. If you get rid of the D, there it is. Put the T on it. There it is right there. Contact us. The next one down.
the next one down. Where? Oh, I'm going blind now.
You
Here,
already have
You
sorry,
it.
got it. Hit
Mhm.
enter.
sorry.
No
My
worries.
mind was in my thoughts
No
and
worries.
discussion, and then my version just blurred for a minute. But yeah, yours is a great example, right? We have the digital card in its basic form, right? With everything that we need as a power conversation behind, right? Because this is what we want. You can add more to it if you want to turn this into something else, but that is where we find the most impact quickly. The straightforward
Scroll down and
offer
I added my Calendly below there too.
calendar, you see? So we can keep on adding. But that
Below
first
the
part is so
fold.
important. Yeah. Below, yes, every fold. That's the term, right? This is our first fold, the most important fold, what people fall on. Of course, that changes, to be fair, when we're looking at the phone appearance. And we always need to keep that in perspective because what we're doing is marketing on social media, and the first point of access will always be mobile or mobile, right? So always think about that. It puts everything in one aligned vertical uh, um, presentation. And again, the most important fold is the first one, where you have that conversation, where you have that presentation. And again, here, when we're not sure, and you saw how in the last conversation that we had, how tweaking each word in the same conversation can have an impact on the connection that you're making, on how well you're talking to your target audience, right? So that 2 minute rationale will come back often a lot. 2 lines, sorry, right? And here we have an about, right? The about me is the essence of everything that you also have in that first tier of your brand booklet, your brand identity booklet, right? It's important because then you can come back and, well, it's about me. I can take that rationale or take these key elements, staying on track, and rephrase it. If I need to go back to Facebook and rewrite or make sure that my conversation is aligning, well, these elements will also become what I'm going to use to start prompting. Write a business description for my Facebook product page with this 2 minute rationale around my brand name. And if you have rated your brand name with the exercise that you came to discover here, with that rationale, you know the impact that it has when people are seeing it. A roadmap, right? that is what that is. So take advantage of that exercise, or to do it in your form, right? I'm organizing it in a way that I see the most agreeable to everybody, whether you are a beginner or transition or elite. So that way, the fundamentals are the one that I need to anchor. But if you feel like you have a deeper question for each point that you would want to explore on, then do so. Anyways, in a simple point format, if you want to write a lot, do, but be aware of that. Because again, when you're writing too much, you might be diluting the strength of your message. By trying to add more, you're actually playing counterweight to yourself. And that happens a lot, right? I'm trying to say so many things about myself at one point that first I'm over bearing in the conversation, because it becomes a conversation about me, not about my audience. And that's the biggest faux pas in a marketing, networking, or an entrepreneurial conversation. When the conversation that you're having between you and your client becomes about you and not the client, right? Sometimes you'll see me be a little bit like, okay, we're talking too much about me, too many flowers, is because truly I'm like, no, we're losing focus of the conversation. This is not about me, this is about you. Okay, thank you for let's move on, because that's what will get us where we want. I love it. But sometimes you see me like that. I'm eager. It's not that I love, because again, you gave me a reason for this. When I do this, everything will revolve around the way you receive it, right? So when you tell me you're receiving it well, it's like that day in heaven for an artist. Oh, I'm not crazy. It makes sense. So I love that. But the focus in a conversation between you and a client, remember, should always be about the client. And your marketing assets, even when they're talking about you, are conversation to the client and about his needs. Always keep that frame of mind, because that way, you for example, the greatest trick, I love it, and I'm going to come back to it. I love your style. I love your style, Rita, right? To be able to give full answer to a question, especially when you have an audience, you have to have pulled the audience information. So that way you can address these points, right? So going out, going down, oh, sorry, going on stage last, or taking the microphone to the stand last, is actually the position of the approach of a chief, right? If you're sitting as the head of an executive table and you have gathered expertise around you for tasks, before you pronounce yourself, you have to hear everybody's point of view, right? And only then can you make that wise decision. Can you speak wisely within boundary that hits everybody, right? You know when you might be going too far, you're not going far enough, because you have weighed and measured everybody's point of view and conversation. That's an elite approach in group management, right? By simple fact, if your intention, for example, is to drive the conversation, so if you're in a networking session and you want to promote your product and you want to create that moment for everybody, then you're going to be forced to hear everybody, because you need to go to that discovery process each time. And you have to have that system, right? And guess what? You're going to be using brand identity approach, because every time somebody gives you a pitch, this is what is being leveraged, right? The audience is going to come back to that, to these questions. All right, I'm just going to go back to it here, to these questions. Is he clear? Was that right? Is he innovating, right? Does this offer has like, I think, yeah, it's a thing, right? Is there a market for it? Is it relevant, right? I wonder how many people will think about it. Right? And wow, if I start doing this myself, how can I expand on this product, on this approach? Right? So handling objections, they're going to be asking me all these questions in these points. And every time I'm going to be referring back to my brand identity booklet. Handling objections. We learned the kung fu, right? The timing, the nature, the emotion, the strength of it. So I know the kung fu, but how do I react to it each time, right? It depends and will rely on my product knowledge, right? My brand identity in the end, in essence. This is what this product is. This is what it does. This is who it's for. This is how it's applied. You want a live demo? I'm hitting all these points, right? I'm hitting all these points. So this is a system of thought that will follow you across a lot of tiers of interactions when you're doing this, right? So keep that in mind. It's not a lost or in vain conversation. Where am I here, right? So coming back to Robert's card, you see, we have an about section, right? When we're talking to an audience, for example, and speaking to their needs and starting to hint about products, right? In this about section, when we're talking to their needs, presenting ourselves, well, we could have some call to action and have them go discover other things, which is what Robert has, I believe, right? There are buttons here. There's call to action. When I say am I clear, that means I delivered a powerful conversation, and power has to be maintained. So click here to learn more. Do you like what you saw? Do you want to learn more? Click it. That was creativity. Is this getting your juice flowing? Right? This applies to your business. What? Wait. Join in. I just did the product description. It's relevant to you. Act on it now. Right? You're going to love the experience, even if you don't sign in. So join the community. You don't have to buy in. Objections, right? And all coming back to all these. Yes, it can help you grow. Scalability. A lot of these are anchors, right? So think about it that way when we're discussing the brand identity booklet, the need to have just an administrative go-to conversation that you have so you can use it with AI tool anywhere, anytime you want. But more importantly, you will learn these points by heart. So that way they become a reflex to your reactions, to the customer's reactions within your interactions, right? So it's a very simple thing. If you have and you're rated yourself in the 9s, then it's a great preparation for what comes next, the logo, right? Because although the logo is just an echo or trying to echo whatever we are doing there, right? So you'll have also a checklist to take a look at. Let's see how. And since we now have a mechanic, once I go to my checklist, or before I even go to my checklist, I'll tell the AI, here's my logo, rate it. And it's going to give me again the same process, the same learning cycle to repeat. Cycles, 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 wheels, 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 right? There are certain things that you will always notice in this environment, right? The triangle, when there's an idea of priority, of hierarchy, of system built upon system, right? That's a mental anchor for those who are designing business models or business structures or SOPs. Well, they always have these memory anchors when they're doing things because they're following this, right? The circle, the wheel. In every learning process, there's always going to be that idea of cycles, right? Get the wheel turning, right? In the idea of getting your brain in motion, right? So that is anchored to that. Squares, right? And the reason why I'm covering that while I'm discussing this is to pivot a little bit on your logos. You'll notice that most logos at their basic forms will have these three things in common. The triangle, the square, the circle. And the way you mix them will give you an end product, carrying emotions, carrying afterthoughts, right? Because a circle, we just discovered, yeah, it's a learning cycle, but it's also the infinity, right? Square is balance, right? Triangle is movement. And three, for example, for us in this conversation, me and Robert, is the number of motion. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, the rhythm, right? Even in singing, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's a balancing act when you get into 4, right? Go ahead, Robert.
Speaking of motion, reminder, I got to cut out of here. I got a one-on-one that I got to head to. Pleasure seeing everyone today. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Absolutely. Thank you for making time for us, Robert, as usual. And hey, love the motion. Stay in it. So yeah, that's important, right? So when you're going to be looking at your logos, understand colors, shape will come into play. Essence of your brand identity, who you're trying to target as an audience will come into play, right? For example, if I want to talk to a more feminine oriented audience, then my colors will go into that realm of emotions, right? If I'm speaking to an authority base clientele, then the conversation will take use of colors that they like or that they respond to, right? If my business is in a specific industry, there are certain colors, for example, that I won't necessarily gravitate to. Take green. Green is a beautiful example. Green, wellness. But if you start adding luminance, is that the right word? Well, if you turn it into, for example, neon green, then you're no longer necessarily in the realm of nature. You're going in the ether. You might see that in science. What comes to mind when I see green like that is the Hulk, right? Transformation through gamma. And you see it also in the computer realm a lot, neon green. Go ahead, George.
Thank you,
Question?
Virgil.
Oh, pleasure.
In my last meeting that I attended, I mentioned that I was pivoting. So I was changing priorities on my projects. I have about three. I have three projects, and so the brand and the logo creates a situation where I'm thinking, well, will it be possible to create a brand and logo that will cover at least a couple of the projects, or should I work on brand and logo individually?
Okay, so two tiers to that question. One approach, okay? But before you create many, you have to create one, right? So you're going to start with the more, if you had to create products for each one of your logos, if you had to create a product logo for each one of your offers, because this is how I'm understanding it, you have an umbrella company, the power that rules them all, and then you have that different tier of conversation that you can slip into for these specific opportunities. So we have different service offers or different product offers. And yes, it's great to have logos for each one of these service or product offers, especially, for example, when they're service-based. When I'm not selling a product, then the more content visually I can give you to anchor this idea of service becomes important, right? So yes, I will need different marketing anchors for each one of my services if I don't have product pictures, right? If I have product pictures, that is self-explanatory. Building each one of these products usually will require a branding approach for it, and that's what you will use. So that's built in, right? So to come back to your problematic or the solution or the approach, well, it's you have three products, and in fundamentals, fundamentally in what we're talking about, you are now the brand ambassador to each one of these products. So the main and first logo that you're going to anchor on is that one, the one that brings you as the expertise or the expert or the voice or the ambassador for everything that will follow after. So start with that first one. And if you're able to do three things, is because, yes, you have a skill that is common to these three things. Correct? Can you
Yes.
describe in 2-line rationale each one of these products? Coming back to our Brand Identity Booklet and the need of it. So give me in 2 lines what each one of these products does, and I'll let you know if you even need many logos for
Well,
each one of them.
the way that I am prioritizing things now,
Mhm.
I think there is some kind of affinity because I've been offering a life insurance product. A product based on life insurance,
Okay.
because I never look at it as life insurance. I look at it as a financial platform,
Mhm.
but the shifting of my priorities towards health, because I joined a tremendous movement, but health is essential for getting a good rating in insurance. So that's what I'm saying, that there's some kind of affinity in there.
Absolutely. Go ahead. And the last one?
Well, that's I mean the other project that I have is in sports, and yes, you need help for practicing sports.
Are we talking athletes?
Um, well, it's it's a project where we are trying to democratize sports and
Mhm.
allow people to get involved in sports as sponsors,
Okay.
and yes, work as a scout. I mean, our company work as a scouts to find young talents. So, but I got your idea. I think I need to work
Okay.
on a brand and logo representing my umbrella concept, which is me.
Exactly. Uh, First thing first, you did very well at trying or at responding in 2 line to your product because it gave me a good scope of what we could be looking at. But in the end, stick with the train of thought. Create the first logo around you and the industry that you're in, health and wellness. Because essentially, the three ideas were in that realm, sorry, health and wellness, right? The fact that I am offering family insurance to people that have health concern, hence why they choose to start looking at protecting their family's interest by securing their process is important. They have health concern, right? And that is an affiliation because, yeah, if you have health concern, then we offer health solutions as well to help you, right? First, get better. And while you're at it, also get better coverage. Because, for example, if you came in at a 1 on the system of rating offered by a health insurance, and this is a great way to talk about health. Do you feel in great health? Okay, well, we have this insurance product that rates your insurability based on your health records or health assessment. Let's take a step in that. So I'm talking about your health, and all of a sudden, I'm using this program to scale that. Because if the people giving you insurance are telling you that you're not insurable because of your current health, we might need to talk about how we can make your health better and raise your insurance scoring at the same time. So you see how I'm tying in both conversation because they're still within that health and wellness, right? The benefits of the conversation is the difference. In one case, I'm talking your health vis-a-vis of the benefits of giving you better coverage, right? In the other, I'm talking about your health and wellness with the interest and intent of giving you a system, either product-based or nutritional plan-based or supplement-based to get you those results. In the end impact, better life for you, better life for your family, better insurance plan. I get you feeling better, and then guess what? I can sell you that affiliation plan for that product. If it's my product that were the solution to your health crisis, that's an option. But I can now segue into, let's take a look at your coverage. Now that we got you feeling better, let's look at covering your family better. Right? So you're still the same. I'm wearing your hat right now. So I'm George in this conversation, and I know that I have all these tiers of product. But remember, everything I'm saying is only anchored to through my credibility, my ability to shift between these conversation, right? Will put the client at ease. Well, okay, this guy can cover certain things, and he makes sense, right? If the guy won't assure me because I'm not feeling good, I need to feel good. Let me look at this product, right? So stay in the context of wellness. And to add the last tier, coach, you want to make sure that your people are not hurt in the field or they're covered properly when they are hurt in the field. Let's talk about insurance, right? Because if you're insuring, I'm assuming if you have a business tier to give insurance to businesses or institute or establishment or product that are, because an athlete, and this is why I asked you, who are we talking to? Athletes? Because athletes are products. Their health is priority. It is said in the field that, I used to play a lot of sports in high school, and we used to say that it's not always the best player that makes it to that number one spot. It's the guy that didn't get hurt. Because some of these players, seeing it happen, they go in it with so much passion that they neglect their health, they neglect their work. They throw themselves into the arena. Injury. You have a twisted ankle, basketball.
You're right.
And that follows you.
That's the end when they get injured. Yeah.
Exactly. So now you see, I tied in that health conversation in the realm of sport. At a larger scale, if I'm talking to a recruiter, here's a health solution to get your guy, make sure or insure him properly, right? Or make sure that he's get the right supplements, and then make sure that you have the right insurance to cover him on the field. When we're done with you, when I'm done with him, let's talk about your own family too. Are you covered? Right? And I'm able to do that. Well, it's a role play. Of course, right now, it'd be at a deadlock if I went into the room. I don't know nothing about these products, but I'm pitching. Because I have your two-line rationale, because I have that industry in mind, I can shift. Because I understand the product, or I made an idea for myself of the product, the company as a whole, you in this seat. I made an idea of each time the audience that I was speaking to. And at that point, I was delivering the facet of the diamond. that most spoke to that audience. Remember, I speak about that idea in our business profile, and we're going to stop soon with that peace of mind. Your idea, your business is a diamond because it's great for everybody. It shines bright in your mind and will needs to do so to attract people, right? And it is a diamond because it answers the different audience needs. Personally, everybody sees themselves in that diamond in one of these facets. Your brand identity exercise will allow you to understand the different facet of your business each time. And understanding that basic exercise will allow you to work like I did. Okay, these are the points. If I stay in line in this conversation, in this pitch, I'm not failing, right? When I was talking to the sports guy, I knew exactly where I was going. There's insurance. Where is the pain point for his insurance concern? If his athletes, his player gets hurt, that's beyond health. But when we talk about that, then we can segue into the health. How's his performance? Maybe I can give him some supplements to amp that. Better value for your player. Right? This product is good for everybody. It's actually great. It's natural, so it has no impact on your player's metabolism. We can test it. We can ask it even with your doc. They will approve it. But it's also it's so good and so natural that it's good for a family too. Players get family. You have to, right? Let's talk about that. Selling even more. But I know the product. The product is me. Me, I have two tools, two arrows to shoot in the health and wellness conversation. I have these 3 hours. And that's great, actually. Because when you go into a conversation, and this is something that I'm growing into myself, right? When you go into tiers of conversation, you want to have multiple offers, right? In the same industry, because that shows a certain level of expertise, or it allows you to balance out objections, right? I want to sell you this product. When you talk, I'll show you this other product, but I'll show it in a way that brings the conversation back to the one that I want to offer. I can do that, right? But you have to know your products. Okay, so to come back to that conversation and end it all, anchor your first logo. You have to that, because even after that first approach, everything that will follow will inspire itself from that logo for brand continuity, right? Because your logo will shift, but not too much. Otherwise, the product will be another conversation far away from the main brand. And that's not how it works. The line of communication has to go from top to bottom, bottom to top. So the logo of each product has to bring you back to that umbrella brand, if there is one, or refer to it, or be in likeness and in kin of it. Okay. So with that, I'll leave you for tomorrow. Food for thought, exercise to map out that conversation, and word to execute. Good? And AI as well. AI will save you that poetic approach of it. You stay within the ballpoint of your attributes when you're prompting the AI to get the utmost result. Good? Question?
Thank you, Virgil. That was really good.
Oh, that was a pleasure then. A pleasure. I'll try to make it even better this time. Slides. Because visually anchoring things, for me, was the easiest way I was able to learn. I have that you all know about. So words play with me. And I love it because we play that game of inspiration. And one of my catchphrases at the beginning was visualization, because I need to be able to visualize what I'm going to be creating. And visualizing forms is one thing. Visualizing conversation is another, because words have echoes, right? So then it's like trying to stare into a expanding rainbow sometimes when doing that. So it's fun at one point to do it, but it's that important. Every word counts in the way you structure your conversation, especially in a short window of time. to get you moving to the next point in your journey. Okay. So I'll see you tomorrow. If you guys stay, I'll keep on talking, but I also have something to attend to. Just never get enough of you. So
Thank
I'll
you
see
so
you
much.
tomorrow, and
We
See you
appreciate it.
tomorrow.
pleasure.
Thanks,
Yeah.
Virgil.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Rita.